Anva Pranam, Namaste. All glories to Om Vishnu Pad, Srila Bhakti Nirmala Chari Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnu Pad, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnu Pad, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text 14. Sutta Uvacha Dvapare Samunu Prapte Tritiye Yuga Paryaye Jata Parasharad Yogi Vashavyam Kalaya Hare. Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parasara in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu. Purport from Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. There is a chronological order of the four millenniums, namely Satya, Dwarpa, Treta, and Kali. But sometimes there is overlapping. During the regime of Vaishvatsa Manu, there was an overlapping of the 28th round of the four millenniums, and the third millennium appeared prior to the second. In that particular millennium, Lord Sri Krishna also descends, and because of this there was some particular alteration. The mother of the great sage was Satyavati, and the daughter of the Vasu fisherman, and the father, the great Parasara Muni. That is the history of Vyasadev's birth. Every millennium is divided into 3 periods, and each period is called Sandhya. Vyasadeva appeared in the third Sandhya of that particular age. Text 15. Sakada chid sarasvatya upasprishya jalam suchi vivikta eka ashina udite ravi mandale. Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. Purport. The river Saraswati is flowing in the Badari Kasrama area of the Himalayas. So the place indicated here is Samyaprashat in Badari Kasrama, where Sri Vyasadeva is residing. Text 16. Paravaragyanas rishi kalena vyakta ramhasa yugha dharma vyati karmam praptam bhuvi yuge yuge. The great sage Vyasa saw anomalies in the duties of the millennium. This happens on the earth in different ages due to the unforeseen or unseen force of time. This happens on the earth in different ages due to the unforeseen force of time. The great sages like Vyasadeva are liberated souls, and therefore they can clearly see past and future. Thus he could see the future anomalies in Kali Yuga, and accordingly he made arrangement for the people in general so that they can execute a progressive life in this age, which is full of darkness. The people in general in this age of Kali are too much interested in matter, which is temporary. Because of ignorance, they are unable to evaluate the assets of life and be enlightened in spiritual knowledge. Text 17 through 18. Bhauti kanam cha bhavanam shakti hrasham cha tatkritam ashradhanam nishatvan durmedhan hrasitayusha durbhagam cha janan viksha munir divyena chakshusha sarva varnashramanam yad dadhyau hitam amoghadrik. The great sage, who was fully equipped in knowledge, could see through his transcendental vision the deterioration of everything material due to the influence of the age. He could also see that the faithless people in general would be reduced in duration of life and would be impatient due to lack of goodness. Thus he contemplated for the welfare of men in all statuses and orders of life. Purport. The unmanifested forces of time are so powerful that they reduce all matter to oblivion in due course. In Kali Yuga, the last millennium of a round of 4 millenniums, the power of all material objects deteriorates by the influence of time. In this age, the deterioration of the material body of people in general is much reduced, and so is the memory. The action of matter has also not so much incentive. The land does not produce food grains in the same proportions as it did in other ages. The cow does not give as much milk as it used to give formerly. The production of vegetables and fruits is less than before. As such, all living beings, both men and animals, do not have sumptuous, nourishing food. Due to want of so many necessities of life, naturally the duration of life is reduced. The memory is short, intelligence is meager, mutual dealings are fully hypocrisy, and so on. Dandavats Maharaj. Dandavats Maharaj.
Acharya Maharaj body actually not yet reached and there is, they are little afraid because the villagers, they may be, create some problem, because Maharaj has COVID, So they are trying to, I suggested that they may little delay because they are already late now, So maybe around 10:30 when people are taking rest, they will enter there. And early in the 4:30, before people, getting away, they will finish the whole thing. So, and also, what is supposed to be something like that. But they go to Maharaj school, they need some plastic, cover, something like that. So there is some little problem in that way, the devotees. So I'm getting from this so that Maharaj knows. But Maharaj. Okay.
Yes, Maharaj. I'll tell him.
Yes, thank you.
Dandavats Maharaj. The body of Srila Acharya Dev, like you were saying, there might be some danger because he still has COVID. So they are afraid of bringing in the villagers now. So they're going to wait until nighttime and then do that. And then have the ceremony in the morning.
Samadhi.
Yes.
Where is it now?
They are like 30 minutes away from Ekachakra.
What time is it?
It's Alexa, what time is it in India?
Must be around 8 o'clock at night.
In India, it's 8:05 p.m.
Due to want of so many necessities of life, naturally the duration of life is reduced. The memory is short, intelligence is meager, mutual dealings are full of hypocrisy, and so on. The great sage Vyasadeva could see this by his transcendental vision. As an astrologer can see the future fate of a man, or an astronomer can foretell the solar and lunar eclipses, those liberated souls who can see through the scriptures can foretell the future of all mankind. They can see this due to their sharp vision of spiritual attainment. And all such transcendentalists who are naturally devotees of the Lord are always eager to render welfare service to the people in general. They are the real friends of the people in general, not the so-called public leaders who are unable to see what is going to happen 5 minutes ahead. In this age, the people in general, as well as their so-called leaders, are all unlucky fellows, faithless in spiritual knowledge and influenced by the age of Kali. They are always disturbed by various diseases. For example, in the present age, there are so many TB patients in TB hospitals, but formerly this was not so because the time was not so unfavorable. The unfortunate men of this age are always reluctant to give a reception to the transcendentalists who are the representatives of Srila Vyasadeva and selfless workers, always busy in planning something which may help everyone in all statuses and orders of life. The greatest philanthropists are those transcendentalists who represent the mission of Vyasa. Nārada, Madhva, Chaitanya, Rupa, Saraswati, etc. They are all one and the same. The personalities may be different, but the aim of the mission is one and the same, namely to deliver the fallen souls back home, back to Godhead. Text 19. Chaturhotram karma sudham prajanam viksha vaidhikam vyadhad yagya satatyai vedam ekam chaturvidham. He saw that the sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas were means by which the people's occupations could be purified. And so simply the processes he divided, to simplify the process, he divided the one Veda into four in order to expand them among men. Purport. Formerly there was only one Veda, the name of Yajur, and the four divisions of sacrifices were there specifically mentioned. But to make them more easily performable, the Veda was divided into four divisions of sacrifice, just to purify the occupational service of the four orders. Above the four Vedas, namely Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, there are the Puranas, the Mahabharata, Samhitas, etc., which are known as the fifth Veda. Sri Vyasadeva and his many disciples were all historical personalities, and they were very kind and sympathetic toward the fallen souls of this age of Kali. As such, the Puranas and Mahabharata were made from related historical facts, which explained the teaching of the four Vedas. There is no point in doubting the authority of the Puranas and Mahabharata as parts and parcels of the Vedas. In the Chandogya Upanishad 7.1.4, the Puranas and Mahabharata, generally known as histories, are mentioned as the fifth Veda. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, that is the way of ascertaining the respective values of the revealed scriptures. Text 20. Rigyaju samattarvakya vedas chatvara udhrita itihasa puranam cha panchamo veda uchate. The four divisions of the original sources of knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately. But the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the fifth Veda. Text 21. Tatrag Veda Daropalai Samhago Jaimini Kavi Vaishampayana Evaiko Nishnato Yaju Sammuta. After the Vedas were divided into four divisions, Paila Rishi became the professor of the Rig Veda, Jaimini the professor of the Samaveda, and Vaishampayana alone became glorified by the Yajur Veda. Purport. The different Vedas were entrusted to different learned scholars for development in various ways. 22. Atharvangir Asham Asit Sumhantur Daruno Muni Itihasa Purananam Petame Roma Harshana. The Samantu Muni Angira, who was very devotedly engaged, was entrusted with the Atharva Veda, and my father, Romaharshana, was entrusted with the Puranas and historical records. Purport. In the Shruti mantras also it is stated that Angira Muni, who strictly followed the rigid principles of the Atharva Veda, was the leader of the followers of the Atharva Veda. 23. Taetarashayo Vedam Svam Vyasyan Anekada Sishyai Prashishai Stachchishyai Vedas Te Shakino Bhavan. All these learned scholars, in their turn, rendered their entrusted Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples, and great grand disciples. And thus the respective branches of the followers of the Vedas came into being. Purport. The original source of knowledge is the Vedas. There are no branches of knowledge, either mundane or transcendental, which do not belong to the original text of the Vedas. They have simply been developed into different branches. They were originally rendered by great, respectable, and learned professors. In other words, the Vedic knowledge, broken into different branches by different disciplic successions, has been distributed all over the world. No one, therefore, can claim independent knowledge beyond the Vedas. (24) Taeva Veda Dormedhar Daryante Purushayata Evam Chakara Bhagavan Vyashakripana Vatsala. Thus the great sage Vyasadeva, who was very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men. Purport. The Veda is one, and the reasons for its divisions in many parts is explained herewith. The seed of all knowledge, or the Veda, is not a subject matter which can easily be understood by an ordinary man. There is a stricture that no one should try to learn the Vedas who is not a qualified Brahmana. This stricture has been wrongly interpreted in so many ways. A class of men who claim Brahminical qualification simply by their birthright in the family of a Brahmana claim that the study of the Vedas is a monopoly of the Brahmin caste only. Another section of the people take this as an injustice to members of other castes who do not happen to take birth in a Brahmana family. But both of them are misguided. The Vedas are subjects which had to be explained even to Brahmaji by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the subject matter is understood by persons with exceptional qualities of goodness. Persons who are in the modes of passion and ignorance are unable to understand the subject matter of the Vedas. The ultimate goal of Vedic knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This personality is very rarely understood by those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance. In the Satya Yuga, everyone was situated in the mode of goodness. Gradually, the mode of goodness declined during the Treta and Dwapara Yugas, and the general mass of people became corrupt. In the present age, the mode of goodness is almost nil, and for the general mass of people, the kind-hearted, powerful sage Srila Vyasadeva divided the Vedas in various ways, so that they may be practically followed by less intelligent persons in the modes of passion and ignorance. It is explained in the next shloka as follows. Thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 25 on Wednesday. All glories to Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to our Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees Ki Jai. All glories to the worldwide devotees Ki Jai. Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Niskam Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Vigyan Muni Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Ekachakra Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. Sham Kund Radhakund Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Hari 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 Bol.